YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to make another video for my independent study class, and then after this I'm going to shoot another video for Heal Your Life. So if anybody was watching that series and was like, where's the blog post that you said you were going to do, and where's another video, I'm going to put both of those up today. So got a lot of YouTube work to do. Okay. So I'd like to make a video on beauty privilege in opera. So as I've discussed before about opera being a primarily white discipline in my video about racial sexual space in academia, I wanted to kind of navigate the topic of being a black woman in opera who doesn't fit in with the beauty standards of opera. So I touched briefly on beauty standards in opera last time I made a video, and I talked about how there was an image of opera singers being primarily heavyset, white, and like very like that stereotypical image that most people get in their minds when they think of like Helga, like a woman like a Voyager, or like a, I can't remember the term for it, but like a very Wagnerian sense of a woman. You know, the stereotypical, like, the horned helmet and the very busty, very buxom white woman, and she, you know, relays her voice and in a way that's so commanding and so direct that, you know, you think it has to do with her size. And then as opera has changed from that, I've noticed, you know, throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, 90s, like this 20th century version of opera, the beauty standards have really changed, where it's been primarily a thinner woman, and the women have been getting thinner and thinner and thinner in opera. And one of the things, the reason why I'm pointing this out is because my voice teacher in school, she would always tell me, like, oh, you're so tiny, you're so petite, like that would work for you if you decided to, you know, be in the opera field competitively or professionally. And she would always talk about that, and then she would always make this comment about, like, we don't want singing refrigerators anymore, and meaning, like, we don't want a large woman to sing in opera. And that, on top of being a black woman in opera, made me very aware of, like, the fact that I'm commodifiable. My voice is a commodity, but it's also my look, and it kind of made me feel very weird about entering a discipline professionally that is just like every other discipline. Like, I thought opera was very singing focused. It was very meticulous in how they would structure their events and performances, because it would be like, I had this idea that it was mostly just about the voice, like it wasn't necessarily about the body, and I started to realize that it was about the whole package, the whole image that you're bringing to the table, which kind of frightened me, because I thought opera was so, you know, it's so rare to hear an operatic voice that I thought it was mostly strictly just about the voice. But opera is just like every other discipline, every other form of media discipline that, you know, is focused on how you look aesthetically and how that can play into your talent. And that bothered me, and it bothered me that that was also kind of something that was a part of my voice teacher's, you know, compliment to me. I was someone who, growing up, they struggled with an eating disorder, and I've never really spoken openly about this on my channel, but I struggled with my weight. Like, my weight has always, I've always been petite and small, but, you know, I ended up getting an eating disorder, due to, being involved with somebody in high school that kind of, they made comments about my race. They made comments about how I was, you know, a good, like, I wasn't just like any other black girl because I was not just, you know, ghetto or whatever, but I was also skinny, and, like, there's this idea that black women aren't skinny, because, like, we're known for being curvier, but also, like, in our media, the way the media portrays black women, they're primarily heavy set or the quote unquote mammy type. Like, they're never really like the lusted after character in a lot of media, and a lot of different forms of media in terms of movies or TV shows or things like that. And on reality television, there's always that over the top, large, black and big black woman. And so that relationship made me very aware of my body even more so I wanted to lose, you know, all of my curves and all of the things that made me beautiful on my body. And so I had a horrible bout with an eating disorder, and like I would always compare myself to celebrities' bodies and like want to be skinnier than them, and just had this whole like couple of years where I was just over exercising, not eating, obsessively checking the scale. And so when I started doing opera and I was recovering from my eating disorder, I began to feel like, oh, this is a space that I'm going to feel comfortable in, because I've noticed like there are small women in opera, but I don't think it's going to be that competitive, because like opera is not a discipline that everybody talks about, so I don't think they're going to be as image focused. And then when I really started studying the discipline and what it takes to become professional, I learned that that wasn't the case, and it kind of scared me, because I've never wanted to be in a market where my body was a part of the display, like a part of the package, because of my previous eating disorder. And another thing about beauty privilege in opera, so I've noticed like when you're performing, you have a uniform. Like, you're supposed to wear a large gown if you're doing a recital. You're supposed to be very like poised, very very in control of like this classy image. So your hair must be done, your makeup must be done, you must look so regal and elegant, which is another reason why the discipline in itself has a lot of class dynamics associated with it. Like, if you sing opera, if you are in opera professionally, it's considered like a dynamic talent, a gift, a separate portion of like class distinctions. Like, you are considered higher class, you are considered to be distinguished, because opera has had its name in a lot of distinguished areas growing throughout history. And I'm going to make a separate video talking about that. But with that happening, and with that being a part of the whole image of opera, you must have this appearance that is very regal. And that kind of was hard for me too, because, you know, I was like, what am I going to do with my hair? And what am I going to do when I go on stage? Like, is my hair professional? And, you know, I have long twists, and I didn't see anybody in opera that, like, any black women in opera that had hair like me. I always saw their hair non-natural, permed, styled to fit, like, the European style of beauty. So I felt really weird performing, because I just currently went natural, and being natural as a black woman is something that's not talked about in the media, and we don't talk about beauty relations and being natural, but being natural is a big part of a black woman's identity and reclaiming beauty, because natural hair was not considered beautiful for a really long time, and now in our society there's this big push to go back to our roots and go back to being natural, and it's so much healthier for my hair anyway than using chemicals to straighten it and to take away the kinks and the curls. And it's powerful to be natural, so I made a decision to be natural for a few years, and a part of that means not straightening my hair, not being a part of like the Eurocentric ideas of beautiful hair. And I noticed in opera that there wasn't really anybody that came out and had dreads or braids or twists or protective hairstyles as a black woman on stage. So I kind of felt weird, because I was afraid my hair wasn't going to be professional, and then if it's not professional, then it wouldn't be classy, and therefore I wouldn't be fitting into the beauty standard of the professional dress or the professional look of opera. So that was something I kind of had to overcome, and then I kind of realized my voice is the art here. For me, when I go on stage, I'm not going to worry about my hair. Like, I'll put it up, I guess. Like, I'll, put it to the side or something, but if it's natural, if it's out, if it's not twisted, if it's just a fro, if it's whatever it may be, I'm going to wear it and I'm going to own it. And if that takes away from my class status, if that takes away from, if that's not the norm of what opera is, then that's not the norm. And even if I am petite and say something happens and I end up being heavier in later years or something, I'm not going to let that take away from the art at hand, which is my voice. And so, summarizing all of this stuff, what I've realized is, like, there are Black women in opera, but they do whatever they can to, like, they don't adhere to this idea of what Black women's beauty is supposed to be. Like, they fit the mold that opera wants them to fit. And I realized that beauty in opera is based on a Eurocentric design. And also, I'm going to be analyzing some lyrics in my blog post about opera, and how, like, a lot of songs only focus on, like, fair skin, like, beauty, like in arias where it's a man talking to a woman or somebody is admiring a woman's beauty. It is not talking about a Black woman's beauty. And this also goes back into my last video, my last blog post, talking about how opera was not made for people, like Black people, because we were enslaved, or we were not, like, we were enslaved during the time frames that opera was really popular, or we were just not a part of, like, larger society, because we were lower class citizens, we were enslaved. Like, so I understand where that comes from when we talk about the ideas of beauty and we talk about the erasure of Black people in those ideas, because we weren't a part of society, we weren't even counted as human. But I think it's interesting that those arias and those art songs are still sung today. And I know that they're doing it as a way to commemorate, like, a lot of composers and a lot of modern opera houses sing those songs because those are the staples and foundations of opera, and when you're learning opera, you need to know the roots of where you're from. But I also think it's interesting as a Black woman who's singing about, like, a suitor in a song, and having, describing the suitor, and then maybe having a piece where I'm singing with a male counterpart, and they're singing and they're talking about a fair-skinned beauty, but that's not me. You know what I mean? It makes me feel very disconnected from the art sometimes, because I feel as if, like, I don't belong here, even though I know it's a staple. I always feel this sense of displacement and not belonging in this space. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I'll be putting a blog post up, and then my next video I'm going to talk about queering the opera space, because I am a queer woman, I'm bisexual, and how the opera space doesn't really talk about gay people, it doesn't really talk about LGBTQIA people, and how does it feel to be in the opera world and to be queering that space. So see you next time.